Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Dominic Scafidi, Digital Marketing Specialist here at Axcient. Thank you all for joining our webinar this morning on ransomware rollback and never paying the ransom. Also, just a demo here today on Axion Anchor. Today, Matt Dugan, Senior Group.
Hey, Dom, I think you went dark there. Got cut out and muted. I'll do my own introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Dugan. I'm Senior Group Product Manager at Axcient. And as Dom alluded to, I'm excited to show you some of the latest and greatest that we've accomplished with regards to Anchor, which is our file sync and share tool. And the theme for this webinar is to never pay the ransom. So I'm going to demo a few features that we've got with regards to ransomware rollback and some of our value props. So we want you to get to know Axion Anchor. So many of you might have a file server on site. We've got, or you're using VPN, antiquated technologies, and I imagine you guys are all aware of the pain that's caused with utilizing a VPN to access files on site when you're a remote workforce. And as we've got COVID-19 season and we're in the thick of it right now, all of those technologies have now skyrocketed to make it even more painful. As before, you might have a workforce that's on the road for a strategic meeting or something occasionally, but now everybody's remote all day, every day. So what do you do there? So what Anchor can help with is to eliminate all of the complexity and the costs, and it's just a major cost driver with regards to VPN. Majority of MSPs and particularly IT teams spend a significant amount of time and money supporting VPN connections. As a remote workforce, you're out on the road and you forget your password, or you log in, your network's not appropriate, or you're being blocked by certain firewalls and such. It's just a major pain in the neck. So by leveraging Anchor, you can actually take your file server data and migrate it to the cloud, and then everybody has access to it on any device, at any location, at any time. And so you can put all of your file server content, and then you have a choice of, what do I do with this file server now? Because it's a liability. That piece of hardware costs money to maintain, and it also costs money to refresh, and it causes pain and frustration if it ever has problems. So by eliminating that liability entirely and committing 100% to the cloud, really gets rid of that cost and that thorn in people's sides. We're also highly compliant and secure. So at Axcient, we're a data protection company. We've got a mission here that is 3 words and it's 12 letters. It's to cure data loss. And so we are laser focused, and we put forth a maniacal effort to maintain compliance in very specific verticals and to provide you with secure access. We like to think of it as peace of mind productivity, so that you know that as a vendor, we're providing you with the best in class software that's actually focused on getting you sleep at night. We don't want you to lose sleep being a partner of ours. We want you to be healthy and wealthy. And another really big value prop here as well is you don't need to worry about scheduling backups anymore. With Anchor, you've got continuous backup. So there's the technology utilized. It's not volume shadow copy service, which needs to freeze the system in order to capture it, and that's why you schedule that. But this technology is the rsync delta algorithm, and it basically tracks any changes, and the moment a change happens, it syncs that delta up to the server and captures that backup. So some things that I'm going to show you today are a little bit of a walkthrough of that. Let's see if we can. But before I dive into that actual demo, I'd like to talk a little bit about what we're doing at Axcient to make sure that we actually deliver on your needs as a remote workforce. And so as soon as COVID occurred, we looked into multiple ways to tackle this. We got aligned with our CEO, who's been really focused on the partner experience and simplifying for you all. So we wanted to enable and empower you all to make that transition. Some of you have already adopted certain cloud services. You were prepared, and when COVID happened, you were sitting there thinking, I'm going to laugh my way to the bank now because I am so ready. Others did not prepare with their fire drills and were caught by surprise with this call to transition immediately overnight. So we collected a whole bunch of resources. I'd like to take a look at it from a two-way approach. So one way is, how do we deliver new things on our roadmap? How can we structure our roadmaps for our products to deliver new value that's needed right now with a requirement of remote first? And then the other way is, how do we support MSPs as a business with perhaps certain financial incentives and give them education and guidance on what they can do to make sure that their business survives, if not thrives, during this time? And so we've collected a whole bunch of those resources and we've put them on our website. And there's a section of the website, and there's also sections of our knowledge base that have various different resources and collateral for you all to utilize, get educated, and also share with your clients to help them understand the importance of succeeding right now more than ever. And one way in which we provided a financial incentive is, I think this was launched sometime in March, is that we've been providing free licenses, particularly here for Anchor, through June 2020. So right now, if you sign up, normally we've got a 14-day trial, but this is an extension of that. It's not even necessarily, you can consider it a trial, but you have really no commitment here at all to get in, utilize it, see the value, realize that value, and have it for free for an extended period of time. So I'm going to open up here for questions, but I'm also going to be transitioning to a demo. So I know that my colleague Dom has sent a message in for any questions. Please throw them into the chat tool. I like to get it a little bit more collaborative of an experience. So ask in real time, and I'll try to answer in real time. And I'm going to ask my teammates Dom and Doug to interrupt me at any point if I'm diving into something and we really want to answer one of those questions. Please let me know. So I'm going to switch my screens here real quick. Let's see if we can get onto. Okay, so here I'm showing a virtual machine. One of the things that we built recently is a desktop client that we regard as kind of a streaming client, or you can consider it a thin client. Ultimately, the value is that as you have a remote workforce, all of these devices in the remote workforce continue to get smaller and smaller. And as data continues to get larger and larger, you've got an inverse relationship there. So data sets continue to multiply, but devices in their capacity continues to shrink. So how do we handle that? And one way in which we can handle that is to represent all of your data as if it exists locally and then stream it on demand. So it's similar to that OneDrive feature of files on demand, or the Dropbox feature of SmartSync. I see a few questions have come in here, and I'm just going to take a quick look at them right now. Let's dive into these real quick. Do security permissions follow through to Anchor when using file server enablement? This is a question I think about NTFS permissions and the file system access control lists. Right now, we have the NTFS permissions set at the root level of team shares. So that's kind of that collaboration folder, which I could demo in a second here. But we do not have it syncing in from the file server. So we have a vision for a one-button play. So you click that button and it brings all of the data from the file server up into the cloud and brings all of the permissions and marries to all of your users and groups that you're maintaining in Active Directory, so that you don't have to manage multiple sets of permissions and you don't have to manage multiple sets of users. Right now, we do not have that integrated at the MTFS level? That's a great question. Another question is, I'd like to see the restore in Anchor to a specific date and time. I'll be sure that we demo that. How do guest accounts work? Can my clients have a mix of users and guests? Absolutely. So with this tool, you're able to create first-class users and groups, and you can organize all of those users into groups, and each of those users consumes a seat or a license. However, you get unlimited usage of guest users, and guest users are typically thought of externally, outside of the organization. They do not get access to install and register applications such as the mobile apps on Android and iOS, and they don't get access to deploy and install the Outlook add-in or the desktop clients on Windows and Mac OS. But what they do get access to is a robust experience in the web interface to access content that's been granted to them, that they've been subscribed to via a share link. And I can show you on how that's possible. When will the thin client be rolled out? Right now, we're working through a closed beta, and we'd be happy to get you involved if you're an existing partner. If you are a prospect that's interested in it, it's going to be a few more weeks before we can open it up for quote unquote open beta. Can the continuous backup open files? Great question. So we do not support live databases. So that's what the question is. There is a workaround to be able to support that through bandwidth throttling and making sure that you don't actually capture your syncing until after hours. But that's the major difference between the rsync Delta algorithm technology and the volume shadow copy service technology. So a VSS backup can capture live databases, and at Axcient, we have a tool for that. But with regards to this specific product, that is a limitation that we do not support backing up of live databases. Let's see. And then I think another question is, we're an existing partner, would like to subscribe to the thin client beta. Sounds great. Please contact your partner success manager or your account executive. We'll get you on the list and we'll get you access to it in a few days, if not short weeks here. I'm going to, rather than dive into the thin client first, it sounds like I should do a quick little overview of the of Anchor, and let me do that real quick here. So I've got my web interface. I've just logged in as an administrator here. This is the brand new UI. So we've got our new web UI UX launched in production. All partners have access to it. I could switch to classic if you guys wanted to see real quick. This is the old version. And then I'm going to just go ahead and switch right back to the new design. Now, if you guys are really interested in dark mode, I've got Firefox Dark Reader here. Switch right into dark mode, which looks pretty cool. But for the demo purposes, I'm going to stay true to its original form and walk you guys through some things. So here I'm at the administrative dashboard. I can manage my accounts, as I mentioned. You've got a list of accounts here. I can go ahead and edit the account and manage the groups that they are a member of and the team shares that they are a member of. I can also create guests here, and I can manage guests. Looks like I don't have any here on this particular demo account. And I can also manage groups as I've mentioned. I've got a list of machines here that are registered. Let me actually go up. I'm in a different organization. That's why things are a little bit less populated. So if I just go right back into guests, you can see a list of guests here, and I can go ahead and manage their shares. I can edit the account, delete the account, etc. You can go into a list of machines, and here's where we've got file server enablement. And so this agent appears to be online and synced. So I'm just going to quickly show you, I'm not going to follow through with this, but this is the file server enablement feature, is the one that helps replace VPNs and all of that outdated technology, so that we're able to take your file server data, get it onto the cloud, and subscribe users to it very quickly. I don't know if this machine is actually online when connected. This might be a bad example, but ultimately it would expand the tree structure of that local file system on that file server, and it will allow me to then select folders and map them to team shares. As you can see down here, we also support mapping of a network drive. Anything that you've got as far as external storage or NAS devices or UNC paths, etc., if it's recognized by a supported operating system, which is the Windows NTFS or Mac OS, then our desktop client will be able to see it and recognize it as well and be able to protect it. So let's see, maybe I can try another one real quick. If not, then I'm just striking out with these machines. They must have been turned off recently. But either way, you guys get the idea. And let me switch over then to, I've got a password manager here that's, just gonna go ahead and log out of that right now. So actually this is built into Firefox, excuse me. I have a setting turned on that's causing me noise right now. I apologize for that. So shares, here are team shares. And one partner was asking for a point in time restore. I can go at the team share level, which is the root level, and I can create a copy of that data as it existed at a previous point in time. And I can specify that date and time right here. So let's see, let's go back into March 3rd. The minute before infection happened at 10:22. I'm going to 10:21. I'm going to go ahead and create that. And yes, I want to proceed. And I get confirmation on screen. And so let's actually go into, take a look, see where that is. Boom, there it is. It's in process. And as soon as that's done, I'll be able to then subscribe users to that. And I can also go in and audit individual shares. These are share links. Oh, that's done, perfect. So I can go manage. Let me actually go back there since that was really quick. It's actually, I chose an empty team share. That's part of the reason why it was so quick. But I can go specify an account, and this is the NTFS permissions question that was asked. Again, we don't tie it directly into the file server to inherit it just yet. That's something that's in our future roadmap. But we do have 7 different roles: co-owner, collaborator, editor, web editor, viewer, previewer, and uploader. That has all of these various different permissions for many of these use cases that we've researched over the years. And so you can specify this person's a collaborator, and then I can subscribe this person and specify them as only an uploader, and then somebody else, maybe I want them just to be a viewer without the ability to edit content, so on and so forth. I can also invite others from different organizations via email, etc. So let's go to backups real quick. The beautiful part about backups is that I can create a backup on an endpoint remotely. I can manage that backup remotely, and I can restore that backup remotely. So your administrators have full control and power over backing up, managing, and restoring data for your users. So one other use case that's really valuable here with Anchor is if I have a disaster that happens on site, I can walk across the street to a hotel, get Wi-Fi in the lobby, log into the web interface, and have access to all of my data right then and there. And I can leverage something like the collaborative web editor for, let's see, I can open up the collaborative web editor and be able to take advantage of that in real time. So I can continue editing content and being highly productive with my teammates, regardless of my location, so long as I have an internet browser and a network connection. Now, one thing that we've got as well that's been launched here is the ability to utilize Microsoft Office. So I've got Word Online here. So we've got a native collaborative web editor, which I just opened up the Word document here. This is our native collaborative web editor embedded into our product. And then we also have full integration into our Microsoft 365 instance. This is going to be multi-factor authentication. So let's see if I get this. There we go. And that should pull up Microsoft Word Online. We're also fully integrated with Excel Online and PowerPoint Online. So your employees have a choice of if they want to utilize the native collaborative web editor for spreadsheets, presentations, and documents, or they can switch over and use Microsoft 365. It's our recommendation to use Microsoft 365. However, for editing purposes, it is very much dependent on a Microsoft 365 license, whereas our native collaborative web editor is not. And so let's see here. Maybe I can go in and open up another. Here's a spreadsheet. No, that's some stuff. This is a production environment. So let's see. Just some quick demos. Here we go. So open up a spreadsheet in Excel Online. You see how quickly that rendered and opened up. So let's see. Now let's go back to organization settings. And I can go into activity and reports. So activity gives you full granular audit logs to go take a look at all of the activity in the system so that you can see who did what and when. Here's an important alert that can be generated based on activity. So the file server enabled machine is unreachable for X period of time. These might have been the file server machines that I was trying to demo here. They've been offline. But I can log alerts for various different events that take place in the system so that I can have them pushed directly into an email, a text message, or even a PSA system such as Autotask or ConnectWise Manage. And so here are all of the various different things of storage, usage, any activity as far as team share creation, user creation, subscribed, unsubscribed, things like that. And then if any of these destructive things of removing accounts, backups, groups, etc. I'm going to take a look. It seems like we got a few questions that came in. How much data is included per user? We've got an unlimited model now. So you just pay a license for the seat. And then we obviously have a fair use clause so that you don't abuse it. But anybody can use it for as much data as they need. So it's unlimited in that regard. So in a ransomware recovery, everyone has to switch to a new/different team share. Right now, the ransomware recovery feature is twofold. So the snapshot feature allows you to create a copy of the data and create a new version of that data as existed at a previous point in time, and then you can subscribe new users to it. And that allows you to preserve the existing data for forensics and understand what happened, why did it happen, how do we prevent it in the future. However, if you just want to do a restore of the data as it sits, which would be a destructive restore, I could go into my files right now, and for a team share, let's just do a folder. I could go ahead and let's see, do a rollback. And I can roll back this folder to a previous point in time as well. You can also lock files before the rollback, etc. So this, a lot of competitors in the space tout ransomware recovery as just this rollback. And let me explain to you guys a little bit about the differences between all of this. So with file sync and share tools, you've got the ability to restore deleted files, which we have. We can show deleted and then go in and restore that deleted test folder. Then we also have the ability to roll back revisions inside a folder or for a particular file. And these two features are commonplace as a core functionality of almost all file sync and share tools. And a lot of players in the space try to represent that as ransomware recovery. And that's fine for ransomware in the early days, because ransomware in the early days would typically just delete, or it would rename through or it would encrypt it, which causes a rename. And so that would allow you to just roll back to a previous version prior to encryption, or it would allow you to restore the deleted stuff if it was deleted. And that's fine. But over time, ransomware evolved to perform many different functionalities as far as moving data and creating copies and deleting the original. If it creates a copy and deletes the original, then that paper trail of recoverability no longer exists. So rollback no longer works in that regard. And if it deletes it, sure, you can restore deleted, but one of the pain points is that we found when we were helping partners, this was a few years ago, we would have to restore the deleted files so that everything, all of the files now existed there, and then roll back everything to a previous point in time. And if there were any data that was actually moved, then we would have to use third-party tools to help understand the file system events and realign, reallocate all of that data so it was where it should have been at that previous point in time. So what we decided to do was build the snapshot feature, which replays all of the events on that file system. So it's not just deletes or renames, it's any moves, it's the encryption stuff, any edits, etc. All of the events that take place, we replay that and recreate the data as it existed at a previous point in time. And so many of those other players in the space are a little bit too egregious, I guess, in embellishing their restore, deleted, and revision rollback features as ransomware recovery. I don't know of any ransomware nowadays that only does that basic level. It's quite sophisticated nowadays. Another question here is there a way to do a silent install on an endpoint pre-configured for a specific Anchor user account? Great question. So the answer to that is partially. So we have silent install, silent deployment scripts, and we're integrated with formerly LabTech RMM, which is now ConnectWise Automate. And that allows you to deploy endpoints, deploy the sync tool on any various different endpoints. And then you can silently register it. But in order to silently register it, you have to use our scripts and you have to know the username and the password. Now, we're looking in and exploring a way to integrate that in with Active Directory to see if we can match the user to the machine and deploy Anchor, which we already can, but then automatically register it based on that user and that machine. It gets hairy when you've got multiple users sharing a machine, which we support with Anchor. So there are some complexities there, but I think the important answer to your question is yes, you can silently deploy and install an agent or a desktop client on an endpoint, and you can silently register it to a user. And then another question is, please discuss file locking for Office docs, etc. So file locking, I'll go ahead here and demo that real quick. Let's see. Oh, let's go here. So I'm going to go ahead and lock this file. That's now locked. You see the lock icon. I'm going to go ahead and lock this folder. And what happens here when I lock things is it means that I am now the owner of this lock. So I am the one I am the sole permitted user to edit this content. And so nobody else can edit this content. So I am able to lock this data, any folder or file that I have access to, that I'm permitted to, I could go ahead and I can lock this. However, I can also go in as an administrator, and I can go into a team share, and I can go ahead and lock the team share. So if I want to lock that accounting team share to make sure that none of my colleagues are actually editing that content, I can lock that. So we've got manual locking at all levels, the root level, the folder level, the file level. And we also have auto locking. Auto locking is when I access content on my desktop client and I open up a Word, Excel, PowerPoint file format, I'm prompted with a screen that asks me, do you want to lock this content as you begin editing? And that allows me to lock something in real time. So let me see, I want to double check to see if I have that turned on. On my local machine. I don't think that I do. Yeah, so auto locking helps to promote a collaborative experience without any collisions from happening. So when I access a Word document, a presentation, or a spreadsheet, excuse me, if I access any of these three file types, it automatically prompts me with an option to lock that content while I'm working on it, or lock it for a period of time. And that helps prevent any other users from jumping in and overwriting and causing a collision. Now, another way to prevent those collisions is to leverage the Word Online, Excel Online, and PowerPoint Online with the Microsoft 365 integration, and also the collaborative web editor, because those options allow you to edit content in real time with other collaborators. So it's a simultaneous editing. That's all of our questions right now. So I'm going to show you real quick about the organization settings. So you can really take on any client in any vertical here with all of these various different policies. So you can specify, as far as ransomware is concerned, you can specify certain ransomware file extensions. Here we've got Locky, Cerber, and Crypto. This means that any files that happen here that are actually that are encrypted with these extensions will not sync up to the server. So it's kind of a quarantine type of a feature, which prevents that. You can also prevent any video files from syncing up if you feel that you're in a bandwidth sensitive location. These are some of the use cases. You also have the ability to force everyone to utilize multi-factor authentication. You have the ability to force everyone to use secure share links. Secure share links are a little bit different than password protected share links, in the sense that if it's a password protected share link and you share it with 500 users, 500 people have the exact same password. So the chances of that password leaking and having a problem that you would not be able to audit and see the paper trail of where the leak happened grows tremendously. But for us, we have secure shares, which is a higher level of security that verifies the user account at time of access. So if I received a secure share link, rather than having to input a password associated with that share link, I have to just log in with my login credentials, and then my interaction with that share link is tracked by the system. So full granular auditing in that regard. It's much more secure than the other players in the space. And here you can see that there's a bunch of retention policy settings, etc. If I go ahead and I create an organization, lots of options here to specify certain things as I walk through. And then also there's the ability to customize your email templates. You can create a custom email server and integrate here. You can integrate with Active Directory to get your users imported into the system and all authentication be offloaded to Active Directory, so that if a user changes their password in Active Directory, they don't need to go into Anchor and change their password and maintain it in two different places. It kind of gives you that single sign-on type of experience. And then PSA, as I mentioned, we've got Autotask and ConnectWise Manage. And ConnectWise Manage, both of them have ticketing, but also ConnectWise Manage has billing. So we've got full billing integration there. to automate that. And then you've also got branding. So you can white label and choose custom branding for all sorts of different things on the desktop clients, the mobile apps, the Outlook add-in, and the web interface. And let me now switch gears. So you guys have seen the new UI UX on the web, and let me switch gears to show you all a little bit about that thin client. So I've got my virtual machine set up here, and I'm going to hope that I know these credentials. I installed the desktop client. Now I'm registering it. It's going to create a folder. I'm going to skip selective sync because I want you guys to see everything right off the bat without me making any selection. So that's now registered, and it's going to begin syncing data down. But as you can see, instantaneously, I have access now to all of my files and folders within a split second. So let's see here. Where do I have a spreadsheet? This is that same spreadsheet. Oh, there's no Excel installed here. So that's a bad example. Probably have to just do JPEGs. I should have prepared this VM with Microsoft Office. It's a beautiful image. So that's a JPEG that just happened in real time. Now that it's cached locally, let me actually zoom in a little bit on these icons. Maybe that's a better view for you guys. So the check mark is content that is synced now locally. Now this is, I believe, you can see these cloud ones. Now the green check marks might be for empty folders right now as well. But as I go in here, I can actually take a, let's see if this test document, there we go. So that's a text-based document. Now that I've opened it, it's cached it locally. I can go into the sync tool right-hand context menu, right-click context menu. I can dehydrate that, which makes it cloud only again. I can go in and I can immediately hydrate it again, which brings that data down into the cache, or I can also just pin it, which means that it is now stays and is not part of the dynamic cache. So the dynamic cache is kind of like first in, first out, whereas pinning means it's there all the time. And let's see if I can maybe, let's go ahead and open up a video. This video is going to hopefully stream in real time. Not sure if this VM is limited to not displaying. There we go. Oops. So this is just me skipping through various different areas of this 30-minute video. So you can imagine a 30-minute video is going to take some time to download. I'm just able to skip right through it like it's nothing. So that's the beauty of it being a streaming client, is it brings the data down in chunks on demand, and it is able to buffer things as well as a video for you to see in real time and jump through it as if that content exists locally. So today I've gone over some of the value props with Anchor. I've walked through the web interface, which is the new UI UX, which recently launched. I've gone through the collaborative web editor and the Microsoft 365 integration, which is recently launched. I talked about deployment to endpoints through the RMM tool, and also manually on manual deployments through scripting. And I've shown a demo also of the thin client, which might be called streaming client and such. There have been a lot of questions that have come in, and I really appreciate that. If I did not cover one of your questions, please let me know, ask it again. I'm going to do another quick look at this. See, another question just came in. Can you explain how the dynamic cache works in a little more detail? Can you also let us know if the self-hosted Anchor servers will have that same feature soon, roughly when? Yes. So the dynamic cache works in such a way that the cache will, theoretically, I don't believe that it's dynamically sizing right now. So in a future update, we're going to get it so that it dynamically sizes, meaning it can grow and shrink as needed based on the content that has been requested and accessed on a timer. So if some of your data that's in the cache hasn't been accessed in several days, then it could be purged from the cache to shrink that cache back down. However, I think today we don't have the dynamic shrinking, we just have the dynamic growth. So you don't need to specify a size for the local cache. You simply just access your files as needed, and you can choose to hydrate or dehydrate. If you want to clear out data from the cache, you just simply dehydrate files and folders. Now, in the future, we also intend to locally encrypt this cache. Right now, the Anchor Sync client does not do local encryption. We encrypt data in transit and on the server, but not on the client, because the best practice is to utilize BitLocker. It's built into Windows, and so you can go ahead and just encrypt your entire volume. But we understand some partners don't want that. So what we're going to do in the future to further differentiate and stay aligned with our absolute advantage of being a data protection shop is to provide a locally encrypted cache. So if this client does not phone home to the server after X period of time, the local encryption key will be rendered obsolete and be destroyed, which means this data that I'm showing you on this demo right now would not be accessible by the user until they successfully phone home and check in with that server again and re-establish and decrypt this data. And I hope that answered the question about dynamic cache. If it will be available for self-hosted, so that's kind of for private cloud partners. Yes, everything that we do on SaaS within reason goes to private cloud. The only reason why there is a delay is because we want to make sure that we fully support it and stabilize it and iron out any wrinkles in a large production scale global SaaS environment before we hand it off to a private cloud partner. We want to make sure that we correct any of the pain and the challenges before we hand it off to you all. So you guys are going to receive it after we deploy to all of SaaS. That said, the current version of the private cloud server supports this thin client. And with that said, private cloud partners can begin their beta testing very shortly. So they're not going to have to wait for a complete production GA release in SaaS before they can begin their testing and be doing demos for clients to get them excited on it. And roughly when, right now, as I mentioned, we're working through our closed beta. We're going to open it up for an open beta. If it's really important for a private cloud partner, we can explore getting you involved in the closed beta. However, we would recommend to not use it with your production data just yet on a production environment. We're still working through some stability issues with the desktop client that we want to make sure that we get knocked out before we flip the switch on for GA. So for those of you that are interested in any of the beta, please, again, contact your partner success manager or your account executive. We maintain certain lists of partners and prospects that are interested, and we can get you on to early access. We like to be very collaborative in our product group. So with regards to this, you're going to be hearing from myself and or my colleagues, and we're going to be working through design prototypes, mock-ups, rapid iterations through alpha and beta builds, etc. Citrix Zen app, virtual app support. No, this has been a very limited question. So we do support terminal servers, but the Citrix Zen app direct support, no, we don't have any specifics difference in our application that we've developed for that. And another follow-up question from Citrix, specifically for the thin client. So I think that answers both. Over the years, I've been leading this Anchor product for over 6 years now, and I can remember and count on, I think, one hand the number of requests for the Citrix Zen app. So it's just not been a really popular use case for us. And I think that might be all it for questions. Last call on those questions. Please ask anything and everything. I'm here for, I think, another 12 minutes at least. So I'm happy to answer whatever you guys might want. Don't be shy. Don't hesitate. There's no bad question. But I hope that you guys, again, just in recapping, I hope you've been excited with what's been shown with the new UI UX that we've built in the web. I walked through a handful of use cases and value props. We talked about certain product initiatives that are on our roadmap that we're intending to build in the future. Walked you through the Microsoft 365 integration that's been recently built and launched to production. And we walked you through the thin client and that user experience that's currently in our closed beta. Okay, well, with that, I think we can go ahead and wrap up. And I want to thank everyone for your time and attention, and really awesome to see a lot of these questions. Thanks for your participation there. And if you have anything else that you're looking, if maybe you forgot a question to ask and it hits you a little bit later today or in the next few days or weeks, please don't hesitate to reach out to Dom Scafidi. He's my marketing colleague that's hosting this for us, and he'll be able to route that question to the appropriate people, whether it's me or one of my teammates. But again, thank you so much. Really happy that you all joined and attended and participated with these questions, and I wish you all a wonderful rest of your week. Good luck out there. Thank you.